Hello, my friend. It's 5:02 on Wednesday, April 25th, and welcome to the very first hour of 24 hours of action. Now, real briefly, this is not going to be an hour-long podcast. 24 hours of action just means that I'm going to be spending 1 hour every day for 24 days taking action on a goal, and that goal is to create consistent, valuable content for you, my audience, my email subscribers. And every morning I'm going to be choosing a topic that you find interesting or valuable, and I'm going to be creating a podcast, a video, and a blog post all around that singular topic. So let's just dive right in. Hour one of the 24 hours of action. I'd like to share just some brief lessons from the last 3 days of my life. I spent 3 days on the road with my family. My son just turned 5, and every year on his birthday, we've been going to Yosemite National Park, which is just about a 3.5 hour drive from my hometown in Sacramento. And posted some really some fun things on social media, on my Instagram stories, and I really got to thinking, especially yesterday on the way home, about how all the videos, everything I posted on Instagram was fun, and it just looked like we were having this incredible time, which we were. There's no doubt about that. But there were certainly some bumps in the road, and these are the sorts of things I think that many parents have in their mind when they think about traveling with their kids, and their obstacles, things that prevent them from traveling with their kids, from taking that leap and getting on the road, whether it's taking a flight, across the state or across the country or across the world, or even just a simple road trip, staying in a hotel. It's a lot of work, and I definitely wanted to shed some light on the other side of that story from those of you who may have seen my posts over the weekend, that thinking it was all just daisies and rainbows and whatever the metaphor you prefer. It was wonderful, and we had an incredible time. But we also had some struggles. The kids, we have a now 5-year-old and a 2.5-year-old, and guess what? There's sometimes they act like 5-year-olds and 2.5-year-olds. The problem where things really got sour was not the kids, because the kids are going to act like kids, and the kids are going to do what they're going to do. And really, it's how we, the adults, my wife and I, it was how we reacted to them is what made all the difference in the world. And we learned a lesson kind of the hard way one night, but we were able to sort of implement those new lessons immediately the next day, and it made just a world of difference. And I wanted to share those lessons with you and hopefully give you the opportunity to apply those lessons in your own life. The biggest lesson that I learned, and this doesn't just apply to travel or travel with kids. This applies to so many things in life. If you allow bad things or obstacles to ruin your day, if you allow them to ruin your day, they will. And one particular night on our trip, my wife and I both, actually, I'm not going to speak for her. I'm only going to speak for myself. But I let it ruin my night. My kids were just going absolutely berserk at dinner, and we were eating at the dining hall at Yosemite. If you've ever been there, it's just kind of this big, loud place, and everybody's it's kind of chaotic. Everyone's getting their food, and then we were going outside to eat, and my son ordered a hot dog, and it sounds so silly to tell the story, but this is true. This is just exactly the way it happened. And so my wife asked me to cut his hot dog for him, cut it down the middle lengthwise, and he did not want that to happen. He did not want his hot dog cut. This sounds so ridiculous, but this is, if you're a parent, you probably had a similar story where just something innocuous as how you cut a kid's hot dog can set them off. And he just had a major struggle, and that set us down the road for really ended up being the end of our night, because we never recovered from this kind of epic meltdown. And reflecting on it, my wife and I had these moments where we even said this out loud, like, never again. What are we doing? Oh my God. We're just beating ourselves up for not having more control over the situation. I'm not sure exactly what our expectations were, but we let it ruin our night. We really did. And that was on us, because the kids were being kids. They had a long day. They were exhausted. They were hungry, regardless of the reason. But the kids did what they did, and we let it affect us in a negative way, and it ruined the night. The next day, dinner time's coming again, and we could sort of feel that tension building because it was still so fresh in her mind of what happened the night before. So I turned to my wife and I said, look, as we sort of noticed the kids starting to ramp up again, the kids are going to do what they're going to do. It's how we react to this is going to determine the way the rest of this night goes. So why don't we do the best we can to make the boundaries as wide as we possibly can, as wide as we're willing to go. And, they're going to be hard boundaries. We're not going to let the kids completely go absolutely hog wild and do anything they want. But let's like really think about how wide of a boundary we're willing to give them, and then see how the rest of the night goes, and then try to also curb our own reactions, and just to try to keep things positive. And it made a huge difference. The second night was night and day different from the first night. And I really think it was because of just our mindset and the way we reacted. The kids still did, things that kids do and things you'd prefer them not to do. But with that sort of that changed mindset and those wider boundaries, the second night was so much more pleasant. And I just want to be able to remember that going forward, remember what that felt like, and also be able just to apply that in day-to-day life. And because, you're not always on vacation. Sometimes you're just at the store, or sometimes you're just at a restaurant or anywhere. And just giving those kids as wide of a boundary as you're willing to give them, and really encouraging them to stay within that boundary, and but also not trying them to act perfect. I don't expect I don't expect perfection out of my kids. I don't expect perfection out of myself. This podcast right now is probably proof of that. That's really what this 24 hours of action is about. It's not a constant pursuit of perfection. I don't expect it of myself. So why would I expect it of my kids? So give them a wide berth, make the boundaries as wide as you're willing to go. Test that out and see how much progress you can make. See how that feels going forward when you're willing to just give your kids maybe a wider boundary than you had been willing to give them before, and then encourage them to stay within that boundary. And there's still of course there's consequences if they do exceed that wide boundary, but the wider the boundary, the less confrontation, the more opportunities your kids have to explore and just sort of be kids. That's the best I can say. And this is a work in progress. I'm just sharing some lessons from kind of one particular instance because it was a bit traumatic, and it just being able and having my wife and I saying things like, we're not going to do this anymore. It's really, I don't know. It felt really lame looking back on it that we let it affect us the way we did, but it did, and it happened, and everything on the Instagram feed. There's more to this story, but looking back even just a day later, now that we're home, the trip was incredible, and I would do it again in a heartbeat. And that's another great takeaway is there's going to be struggles on the road when you travel with your kids, but a lot of those bad memories, they fade out. And they fade out. They tend to fade out fairly quickly, and that was certainly the case for us. So I hope you learned something from my story. That's the point here. I'm hopefully not just rambling on just to hear myself talk. I really want to, give you some actionable advice, maybe shine some light on something you never thought of, or just give you a new way to think about stuff. And I want this to be a two-way exchange. So please definitely reach out, get in touch. I'm Aaron at dramatictravels.com. You can just head over to 24hoursofaction.com and jump on the mailing list. If there's a topic, something you want to hear about specifically, I'd love to hear about it, and I'll certainly get to it on an upcoming episode over the next 23 days now that remain. So I'm going to go ahead and post this podcast. It'll be up within the next couple of minutes, and write that blog post by 5:45 a.m., which is now just 34 short minutes away. I'm going to wrap up this hour of action and get on with my day. So have a great day, y'all, and we'll talk later. Again, I'm going to be on Instagram Live at the beginning and end of each hour for the next 23 days, so around 4:45 a.m. and 5:45 a.m. I'm going to be on Facebook and Instagram Live. So check me out. Follow me at Aaron Schlein. All right, guys. Have a great Wednesday. We'll talk to you later. Bye.